It started on a Sunday morning, the kind that usually felt calm, predictable, and warm. The smell of fresh coffee filled our kitchen, sunlight slipped through the curtains, and for a brief moment, life felt perfectly ordinary. My husband, Daniel, was sitting across from me at the table, scrolling through his phone with that half-distracted smile he always had when he was pretending to listen. I thought I knew him. I thought I knew us. But that morning was the first time I noticed something was wrong. At first it was subtle, the way he tilted his phone away when I leaned over to pass him the sugar, the way his eyes flickered nervously to me and then back down at the screen. It was small, so small that most people wouldn't have noticed. But women, wives, we notice. Still, I told myself I was imagining things. We'd been married 8 years. We had a rhythm, a life together, a history. He was probably just checking work emails, right? That was the lie I let myself believe. But lies have a way of unraveling. Over the next few weeks, I couldn't shake it. The signs piled up like puzzle pieces I didn't want to assemble. Late nights at the office that didn't quite add up. New cologne he suddenly started wearing. His phone, once casually left on the counter, now locked and glued to his side like a secret he couldn't risk me touching. The worst part wasn't even the suspicion. It was the way he smiled at me through it all. That familiar, easy smile that once made me feel safe. Except now, every time I saw it, I wondered, was it real or just another mask? One night, as I was folding laundry in our bedroom, his suitcase caught my eye. He had just come back from a business trip, and the zipper was still open. Normally, I wouldn't snoop. I wasn't the type. But something inside me, some whisper I couldn't silence, pushed me closer. That's when I saw it. A small receipt tucked between his shirts. A dinner for two, candlelight restaurant, wine, dessert. And the kicker? The date. The exact night he told me he'd been working late in his hotel room. My hands shook as I held that slip of paper, that fragile square of evidence that screamed louder than any words. I put it back where I found it, zipped the suitcase, and told myself, "You don't know the whole story yet. Don't jump to conclusions." But my heart already knew. From that moment, everything changed. Every look, every word, every touch felt tainted. I started watching him the way you watch a stranger in your own home. The sound of his laughter on the phone in the other room made my skin crawl. The scent of that cologne made me sick. I became a detective in my own marriage. One night, after he fell asleep, I carefully slid his phone from the nightstand. My pulse thundered in my ears as I typed in his passcode. He had changed it. My husband, who once let me use his phone without a second thought, had locked me out. That was the moment I stopped pretending. If you've ever been betrayed, you know the shift. It's the moment suspicion becomes certainty. Mine came on a rainy Thursday night. He was in the shower, his laptop was on the desk, and for reasons I still don't fully understand, he hadn't logged out of his messages. I shouldn't have looked. God, part of me still wishes I hadn't. But I did. Her name was Claire. The screen lit up with her words. "Last night was amazing. I can still feel you." And his reply, seconds before stepping into the shower, "Counting down until next time, beautiful." The world spun. My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. There it was, in black and white proof. Not a suspicion, not a guess. Proof. I slammed the laptop shut just as he turned off the water. My reflection in the dark screen looked like someone I didn't recognize. Pale, hollow, broken. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw the truth in his face. But instead, I smiled when he walked out, towel wrapped around his waist. I smiled because now I had a plan. For the next 2 weeks, I pretended. I laughed at his jokes. I cooked his favorite meals. I kissed him goodnight. And every moment of it felt like swallowing glass. But behind the mask, I was preparing. Gathering every piece of evidence I could screenshots, emails, receipts, even a photo I snapped of him leaving our driveway at midnight when he told me he was working late. It was torture, living in that house, lying beside him at night while knowing the truth. But I needed to be smart. I needed to be undeniable, because when the time came, I wanted to confront him with everything. No excuses, no wiggle room. It happened on a Saturday night. I'll never forget the way the rain hammered against the windows, as if the world itself was bracing for impact. "Daniel," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "We need to talk." He looked up from his phone, eyes narrowing just slightly. "About what?" I placed the folder on the table. Inside, the screenshots, the receipts, the printed emails. His entire secret life laid bare. For a moment, he didn't move, didn't speak. His face was unreadable. Then he laughed. "You went through my things," he said, shaking his head like I was the one in the wrong. "That's insane, Anna." But when I slid the photos across the table, him and Claire together, arms around each other outside a hotel, his laughter died. The color drained from his face. His mouth opened, closed, opened again, like a fish gasping for air. "It's not what it looks like," he whispered. "It's exactly what it looks like," I said. My voice didn't even shake. "You lied, you betrayed me, and you thought I'd never find out." The fight that followed was brutal. His excuses, his apologies, his desperate attempts to twist the blame. I listened. I let him talk. But inside, something had already snapped. For years, I'd built my life around him, my happiness, my security, my future. And in one cruel sweep, he had destroyed it. But as I stood there, watching him crumble, I realized something. He hadn't destroyed me. I had proof, I had clarity, and for the first time in years, I had power. "I'm done, Daniel," I said finally, my voice like steel. "We're over." The weeks that followed were hard. Divorce papers, splitting assets, friends choosing sides. The house that once felt like a home, now just walls and memories I couldn't wait to escape. But every day, I grew stronger. I started running again, feeling the pavement under my feet like freedom. I reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with. I took a pottery class, something I'd always wanted to try, but never had the time for. And slowly, the grief turned into something else. Strength. One evening, months later, I sat in a small cafe, reading a book. The air smelled of cinnamon and coffee beans. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. That's when a stranger asked if he could share my table. His name was Michael. He was kind, genuine, with a warmth in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. We talked for hours. As the cafe closed and we said goodbye, he smiled at me in a way that felt real, not like Daniel's practiced grin, not like a mask, but real. And in that moment, I realized betrayal had broken me, yes, but it had also set me free, free to rebuild, free to rediscover who I was, free to love again, someday on my own terms. Because sometimes the worst ending is just the beginning of a better story, and mine was only just starting.